It's Aloe Vera.
This is Steel Tip Dove, and you're listening to the Cabbages Hip Hop Podcast.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes, Gary. Are you excited about something? What's going on, bud?
No, I know I don't usually open the show, but I have to start by I have to preempt this conversation for a moment. Just are we fucking up here? Like, did we fuck this season up?
Did we fuck this season up? Why would we fuck this season up?
I think we might have fucked up the season.
You came in locked and loaded. You're like that. You're like that. That head vampire in the movie. She was something. She was something else. She was coming in there with some vigor, some gusto. She was going to get what she wanted. All business.
We're going to talk about Day Shift, but when I first started talking with you about this season, rapper movie season, we set some sort of kind of initial ground rules for ourselves, and a lot of that was about avoiding the very obvious picks.
Mhm.
So it's like we didn't pick like Belly.
Yeah, we didn't pick Baby Boy.
Yeah, we didn't pick State Property. We didn't pick these films that are like canonically known as rapper movies because we wanted to show sort of this breadth and depth of what rappers are bringing to the screen, both as directors as well as actors and writers.
Oh, so, I know where this is going.
So we're on this run of late where
we're picking stinkers and it makes people look bad.
We're picking shit.
It makes the rappers look bad. Listen, if there's any actor on the face of the earth where we were going to pick a bad movie, and this is a clunker for sure. There's a lot of positives to it, but it's a clunker.
We'll go into it.
If there's any actor that can get us through the dark times, it's Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
Snoop Dogg.
Mean, he's a bright spot in this film.
Totally.
And he's the reason why we chose this.
We've learned that a lot. Where like upon viewing these movies, the bad ones especially, in a lot of cases, there's bright spots coming from these actors, and it's like on their way up. But the movies are bad.
Yeah, like
I mean,
we have a great lead in this film. Like Jamie Foxx is like a terrific actor and can do a lot of things. But and we'll talk about the flaws of this film. But like we went into this for Snoop Dogg.
What we've done is we paint ourselves into a corner. What do you want to do? You want to watch a good movie next?
I mean, I feel like we
because I got three words for you, pal.
Mm.
Cool as ice.
I am very happy to introduce our guests for today's show. Joining us now are Aloe Vera and Steel Tip Dove. The Ohio-based hip-hop artist and the Brooklyn, New York producer joined forces last year for the joint album Days Past Strange, which is available wherever music is streamed or sold. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hello. Yo.
What's up?
Hello.
What's up?
Honestly, we're very happy to have you all on. Obviously, Dove, friend of the show, responsible for the music that you hear throughout the show is always Dove's, and that's a delight.
It's an honor
for us to be able to call back to that, and it's fun for us to have that. But the key thing is you guys put out an album, and I loved the record, and I wrote about the record in the newsletter, and I wanted more people to hear about this record. And it seemed to me that while there was plenty of opportunities, I said, what better way to get people to check out your record than to bring you both on the show and talk about the movie Day Shift?
I made a list of reasons, a list of things we could do for this record, and this landed on the top of my list as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Specifically, this film, everything about this was really well thought out, well planned.
This promotion plan, and I will definitely bring up throughout this episode, I'm sure, ways in which I thought this movie was appropriate for you as guests. But before we get into the movie itself, I think it's worth starting with the reason why we're watching this movie in the first place, which is Snoop. Snoop is the reason for this. We've been doing this season where we watch what we're calling rapper movie season, where we watch movies where rappers are in front of the camera, behind the camera, screenwriting, or otherwise involved. And so Snoop was an episode we've been wanting to do for a long time, and we wanted to make sure we did the right film because he has such a extraordinarily large
It's a diverse catalog.
filmography. His catalog of films is both as himself as well as playing characters is huge. So I think it's worth starting out by asking our guests.
Gary, can I interject real quick?
Sure, might as well. Yeah, I guess you can just interrupt me. Sure, why not?
I just think it's been way too long for me talking about Snoop Dogg without smoking weed. That's all I wanted to say. I'm gonna jump in now. Continue with your question.
No, please smoke. That's what everybody wants to experience on a audio-only podcast.
No, 100%.
Maybe hearing you smoke out of.
Here we go.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Okay, great.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, baby.
Getting back to my main question, what is your respective experiences with Snoop Dogg, both musically as well as on screen?
Ooh, all right. So, geez, I guess like music-wise, first, Snoop Dogg like really hit me while I was going through like a weird phase in music where I was just like, everything's kind of like really kind of emo and emotional. And then out of literally nowhere, like I had listened to Snoop Dogg before then, but Sensual Seduction,
yes.
I was like, and like, you know, jokes, whatever.
No,
that was just such a well-produced song. I
love that song.
Oh, I'm in it actually. And then it was like started this like, you know, revelation is like, oh, Snoop just like gets into other genres really heavy. Like starting from like what, like G-Funk or whatever, like it's a really big, like diverse pool in it of itself. But like Snoop Dogg is just like unafraid, just I'm gonna be in the genre now, whatever. Like side quest it out, you know, let's just like flesh it out. And they're really well produced projects and like really well concepted projects, and that's something I've always loved. Movie wise, it's funny. I feel like I'm just like being real obscure for no reason. Movie wise, I actually really liked Snoop Dogg and Baby Boy.
A lot of people would.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of people would pick that one.
We would have picked that, but people would enjoy talking about it, so we won't do that, people.
we could have picked that movie. We could have picked
any of them.
Oh,
there's 100 of them, I'm sure. He's been in everything.
No.
His IMDb credits are like 280 things, which includes music videos, but like he has been on a lot of screens over the years. A lot.
Yeah. Stay with a check. I'm sure that's like TV shows too.
Yeah, there's TV stuff for sure.
That was also a recent thing where there's like this YouTuber who like I've really been digging, who's like a video essayist. His name is FD Signifier, and he did like a 2-hour video, I think, like some ridiculous on like the ramifications of the like, you know, what the parody that is Baby Boy, the like deep textual like context of this film and how it relates to like John Singleton pretty much birthing the era of like hood film of like, you know, like, and then like his return to that after a while was Baby Boy, which is like almost like a very like thin layer of comedy, but like this really intense satire that's pretty much a satire of a genre he created that is like really talking to the themes that he's expressed in his work and then that people have built on. Yeah, Baby Boy, Snoop Dogg. Yep.
I feel similarly about Day Shift. I think this is a seminal work.
Yeah. Well, before we get into your opinions of this movie, I would like to hear.
Yeah, I really hope nobody believed me when I said that.
Seminal work. Before you just start being self-parodying yourself at this point. Steel Tip Dove, what about your experience with Snoop, musically as well as on the screen?
well, musically, I was typing, looking up movies that he's been in, more movies. Musically, though, I remember I'm trying to look up the date for Snoop Doggy Dogg, the video, the original date on that. I was staying up past my bedtime on purpose to listen to that song on a top 10 radio countdown. I was listening to the whole, I was staying up to listen to this thing real quiet on a radio, in my room in bed. And that was during that era, and that was always in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that track. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? I was so young. And it was so fucking cool. And then I eventually saw the, Gin and Juice video. Snoop Dogg, to me, has maybe one of the greatest careers in entertainment of all time. All time. I would say, in my opinion, of like, if we're using the word entertainer,
sure,
I'm gonna put him in the top 20 in all history, bro. Look at his career, the diversity, the jobs he's got, the checks, the different, just it's absurd the amount of things that Snoop Dogg has done and never not been Snoop Dogg. Like, just this dude who you kind of like, he gave his personality to the world through music first and acting, and just kept it that, and it's still when was this movie made? Like, this is a pretty modern movie.
22?
I had no idea what I was going into, man. Oh my god.
So it was 2022 when it came out, right?
Yeah. And Snoop Dogg wasn't in it enough, but he was the best part of it.
At all.
One of my favorite things about him here and anywhere is that his charisma steals the scene without him having to be a scene chewer or overtly loud or like attention grabbing. He just like rolls into the scene, does his thing, and is like, all right,
Snoop Dogg
gracefully fade to the background.
Yeah, is a gracing your presence is quite a feat. So
what's incredible about Snoop Dogg is that, unlike other hip hop artists who have found their way across entertainment, not even necessarily as actors per se, but across entertainment, is no one has ever gotten sick of Snoop Dogg ever. No one has ever been tired of seeing Snoop Dogg in things. It's like, if I see DJ Khaled one more time, I'm going to lose my fucking shit.
I hear you.
I don't care if he's golfing. I don't care. Whatever he's doing, I'm not interested anymore. I lost interest about like a year into the pandemic, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm good. I don't need to see any more DJ Khaled. There's nothing there. But there's something about Snoop's charm. There's something about the way in which he's able to engage you, whether he's playing himself or he is, shilling products.
I'll take it one step further, Gary. Name a time you weren't cheering for Snoop Dogg.
Oh my God.
I can't think of one. You're like always cheering for, like, he could be a greedy businessman. He could be Satan. He could be anything he wants. And you're like, but he's cool, man. He's just so
cool, man.
You was watching Baby Boy like, I mean, I hope,
That's one of the only times that I was like, oh shit. How dare you, Snoop Dogg? How dare you? You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to scold Snoop Dogg. That's the only time I've ever wanted to scold Snoop Dogg.
I was expecting you to stand your ground, because I would agree with you, because Jody is a terrible main character. But anyway.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And
there was a Snow on the Bluff too.
Let me ask you this.
Was
there a Snow on the Bluff 1? I don't know.
Yeah. Snow on the Bluff is one of the craziest movies ever made. It's hard to explain and articulate what it really is.
I've never heard of this.
Have you guys seen it? Have anybody else seen it, Gary or Aloe?
Yeah.
It's a homemade movie.
When did this sequel come out?
2015, and apparently Snoop Dogg was in it. And Snow on the Bluff is, if you could still find it online, I'm sure somebody has re-uploaded it. I would say like Blair Witch-esque, or like, I don't want to give too much away, but it's hard to understand what you're watching at first. And
I like that feeling. I wish that more movies employed it in a lot of ways, because this movie is one of them where, like, the very beginning just kind of clues you into what you're in for.
Yeah. Thank God they went right into the
you're immediately like, all right, cool. This is going to be a big, weird, violent, like, slugfest with vampires.
Another thing that speaks to Snoop Dogg's sheer presence is
Mm.
that we haven't even mentioned Jamie Foxx yet, who
No.
is just one of the most incredible artists and entertainers ever.
The star of this movie.
And without even taking anything away from him, it's just shocking to look at Snoop Dogg's career and be like, oh, wow, you know.
Jamie Foxx is another one of those artists who has crossed into multiple genres, musically, cinematically. You know, he's a literal Oscar winner on the screen in this movie. And while this is like a genre film, and it is sort of indicative of the kind of, dare I say, schlock that Netflix likes to engage in for their originals, the sort of like action comedy thing that you just don't get made in Hollywood anymore through the studio systems. They just don't do these things anymore. It's something that Jamie Foxx can carry as much of this film as he does, but my original motivation is not just for this show, but just generally was the idea that I kept saying out loud to anyone who listened was Snoop Dogg in a cowboy hat. Like, that is reason enough to watch a movie. Snoop Dogg in a cowboy hat
is Big John.
Yeah,
Big John,
which is awesome. That's the end of that thought. Like,
it's awesome.
They were like, look, we got the Big John character. We need somebody effortlessly cool who can talk anybody into anything. Snoop Dogg. And he gets to wear a cowboy hat. Over. This movie's great. I'm with it.
Well, what you were saying too about like not like being annoyed by Snoop Dogg in this movie, him as Big John is just completely believable. Just like the way he's just like tipping his hat and stuff. I'm like, oh no, Snoop Dogg would do this for sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes,
100%. The most believable character in all of this was Snoop Dogg.
In this LA vampire film.
Yeah.
Is Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
As Big John.
Can we talk about the ending?
You want to jump to the ending?
Early,
you want to jump
to the ending? Whoa.
It doesn't really matter what order we talk about this thing in, right? Like,
That's
hey,
true,
spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about the end. Watch the film if you want to.
I think you said it's a seminal work. I think it's really important to people. We just jump into the last page.
Okay, we don't have to.
You did say seminal, sir. You did. We should probably start with
seminal
with Snoop's first appearance in this film. The first time we meet him, which is, again, I think we can all agree, way too late in this film.
Yeah,
as he shows up late in Act 1 as our guide into the world of the Union, which I will want to talk about at some point. But you meet this effortlessly cool person who is beloved by everyone except vampires, I guess. Age-appropriate women, dare I say, flirting heavily with him, which a lot of credit is due there. It's not like they just put something up. It's like they put people who are within an age range. It's like if he was out dating that person, you'd be like, oh sure, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Very true.
They definitely don't. They played of that, and then he is like treated with such respect in that building. That you just know that there can't have ever been anybody else they were considering for that role. Who else could be that role? It doesn't exist in culture.
Like, who else would you want? No one. There's no one else I would want to do this.
Not after seeing it. Yeah.
I don't know that I would have gone to that level first, but the second it was introduced to me, we're going to put Snoop in a cowboy. I was like, Snoop, stop. You've struck gold. Gold. The rest will write itself. And I think that's kind of how they treated it in a way.
I think it's really interesting too, because like the way that he actually like shows up in the film is as cool, but as like the big John cool, this is kind of a kind person, like in the film and then in real life. And it's like, I don't know a lot of celebrities who could just pull off, oh, I believe you are a kind person, actually.
Yeah.
A
kind badass is really hard to play convincingly in this type of movie. Like, someone who's really nice is going to get eaten alive. Like, that's sort of what we get from, I forget his name, but the Union rep.
Dave Franco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's sort of the goody of this and is like tossed asunder for it. But with
This
Snoop Dogg, he like can totally be a badass and be like the nicest guy ever simultaneously. It's no big deal. I believe it.
Snoop Dogg can walk into any room, fiction, nonfiction,
Mm.
any made up room or any real room. He'll walk in, command the room, and have friends right away.
There's a certain amount of people in this world where you'll believe any story they tell you about them.
Yeah.
Also one of them right there. Snoop Dogg. Yep, I bet he did do that shit.
So then, given the charisma that he has, and given the extraordinary reappearance in Act 3 of this film, why was this not a buddy comedy between Snoop and Jamie Foxx? And we had to do with Dave Franco for 2/3 of this film. Even when he dies, we have to deal with him. It's unfair.
That's what I was thinking, is just like, could they not afford both? Because, like, they probably had to make a choice.
Yeah,
but
they got Snoop for one day.
It's also Dave Franco, so it's like, he may have not had time. Like, there's so much that goes into writing. Like, you hear about the writer's strike and all that stuff. Like, there's so much that goes into writing and shooting a film. Like, they made, like, Snoop Dogg stay with a job. That's what we said. So, like,
and he's a busy dude.
Like, this is an original script. I don't think it's based off of like a movie or nothing. So, like, he may have just like, I can pop in and out, but like,
Well,
like,
speaking, I think maybe this is a good idea to speak about the writing, since you mentioned that. There are two writers credited on this film: Tyler Tice and Shay Hatton, neither which sound like real people's names. It's Tice's first screenwriting credit.
Okay.
I should just say right off the bat, the person who has given the lead screenwriting credit, this is their first ever one, at least showing up on
This is a time to put the Cabbages curse to the test.
Yes.
Because this is the person's first, and I don't want to be the judge here, but
they don't have anything coming up. They don't have anything coming up according to IMDb.
This doesn't surprise me. For those uninitiated, including our guests, fucking every movie we watch, it's somebody's last film ever. They are never invited back to Hollywood. They've been alive forever, but now they're a lawyer, or they walk dogs. They just like don't work in the fucking industry ever again.
You watch Career Killers,
and we don't mean to, but we start looking up facts about the film, and invariably it's
budgets,
like,
man.
Last time this person ever wrote a feature film, they write commercials now.
First person you hire better be an accountant.
Yeah. But Shay Hatton, the second credited screenwriter, has some writing credits on some films that you may have seen. He has credits on John Wick 3 and 4.
Is that why the main character doesn't talk?
Excellent question.
Well, he wrote the fight scenes, it sounds like.
Well, the script for 2 was like, I think, somewhere around 150 pages of it were just the word gunfire over and over and over again. So not a whole lot to write there.
I haven't seen any of those movies.
I also have not.
There's a strong connection between the John Wick movies and this film, beyond Shay Hatton's role, because of the director of this film is a veteran stuntman, stunt coordinator named J.J. Perry, who's worked on dozens of movies and TV shows since the mid-1980s.
But this is the first directorial?
Yes, it is his directorial debut.
I knew it.
But he's also been a second unit director on a number of films.
Oh, that's cool.
He did stunt work on both John Wick 1 and 2. He's been second unit director on films really starting like the late 2000s, such as The Dark Tower, The Fate of the Furious, F9, The Fast Saga, Skyscraper, and Roadhouse 2, Last Call.
Excuse me? Hold on 1 second. Roadhouse 2, Last Call. Is this a movie in production?
Oh, no,
this already exists.
About like 2009, I think.
I gotta see this.
Yes.
How do you make another story out of that?
They did it. So I bring this up only because this John Wick thing is, if you've seen any of John Wick films, they're heavy with lore. They're trying to really build this world about this assassin society, international stuff, and each movie expands it bigger and bigger. And this film really, Day Shift, really did seem to try to do the John Wick thing, not just with the action sequences, but plying us with tons of exposition and information about these vampires that, in retrospect, and really in real time watching this film, we did not need. Did you need to know how many types of vampires there were?
There was other information that I needed to know about the vampires. For instance, why did the world seem normal? So was the implication that vampire hunting was known by other people, but his wife just didn't know that he was a vampire hunter? This was a normal job that maybe one would just have, or was it a hidden job?
But he hid the job. He didn't
From his
he
wife
lied
or
and hid about the job.
from the whole
Like he
world?
hit it like it was, yeah, like it was secret. So there's like,
Okay, so it's a secret thing.
Yeah, but that's like, do we believe in the story as the story is telling it? Do we have fun because it's a movie, or do we like dissect it? Because it is a Men in Black thing where it's like, okay, well, like, in real life, of course, like conspiracies are very hard to like maintain. And this is not a movie that like, is trying to take it so seriously, but like, yeah, it is cognitively dissonant in that way where it's just like, oh yeah, it's secret. Why is this a secret? Why do you have to keep it secret? If like
it's not a very well kept secret. Here are a couple of things. First of all, this town is unalarmed about gunfire,
right?
A missing governor, piles of dead bodies, hordes of missing animals.
That's just the valley.
This guy's just kidnapping cats from shelters.
Oh,
This town is just like, yeah, what are you gonna do?
That's why
the fat cats in Washington,
That's why for a minute I thought that there was the potential that maybe that the world knows that there's vampires,
right?
And even that maybe sometimes some of the vampires are good because we get to see those two. The woman who comes out of nowhere. And I guess at one point they kind of implied that Jamie Foxx started a relationship with the woman that lived next to him. We saw him interact with her once, and then the next time we saw them interact, the implication was that they had a whole relationship, a whole history.
We were missing some.
There's some scenes missing. Scenes are missing.
So I guess my question is, I think maybe that the world knows there's vampires.
I think the opposite is true. I think it is trying to and not doing a very good job of it, given all these Swiss cheese holes we've just identified about like there's not a single cop that shows up in this entire movie, and there's gunshots heard in broad daylight in the first 5 minutes of the film, and a violent assault that happens at a house.
The motherfucking governor is missing, y'all. He's been buried underneath, and no one cares. There's not a single cop in the street. There's no newscast. There's nothing. Everybody's just like, oh man, bummer.
Well, that's the thing I kind
what are you gonna do?
Understood about the film is that like the vampire hunters are the cops for the film. So like I've been like getting really into like the understanding of like propaganda as of late. There's like a person who talks about it like Skip Intro. And so, like, in this film, that was what it was to me. I was like, oh, like, about like, a quarter way through Act 1, I was like, oh, okay, the vampire hunters are the cops. So there doesn't, it would be redundant to have like actual cops in the film because we got extrajudicial justice, a vigilante mentality backed by like some organization. They are the cops. So I was like, as soon as that clicked, I was like, oh, I mean, Snoop Dogg cool or whatever. I can't root for nobody in this film.
No, honestly, if they made
the
main villain, if they gave her any sort of actual personality besides I'm a very old vampire and I may kind of remind you of like,
boy, she's all business.
Like, but there's nothing to it. I spent half the time just being like, where is
she's a real pistol.
Really, dude?
It's all business, man.
Yeah.
She's coming in hot.
Like, there's nobody to root for in this film, really, ultimately. Other than
landlords versus cops, Alien versus Predators 2.
And look, we're pretty ACAB over here at this show anyway. We have no love for the police in any way whatsoever.
the license plates of all of the people we see that are vampire hunters, I think, have like Bible verses on them.
See, I think the vampires are out in the open, and that the cops don't get involved because there's vampires hunters that have day shift and night shift. And
there's a union. This is the other thing is there's a giant
there's
union.
a union. Like,
But the
like,
union
they're
is hidden
filing
behind
official
a fucking
papers.
laundromat.
Someone on Reddit's gonna find official papers about this and be like, guys, there's a fucking system of vampire hunters and they have a union and they're in that, like they have an IWW. Oh, it's
they don't tell us.
No, they're behind a secret door at a laundromat. That is already showing that they're hiding. I don't know how big that laundromat is because it was really quite a large space they were in. But that is already telling us that things are secret. The fact that he has to go out and masquerade as a pool cleaner to do this work. And that there's like shady pawn shop back rooms where they buy teeth. And I want to talk about these fucking teeth for a second because I don't get the teeth.
I really want to. This.
Oh yeah,
this
what did they
really
do? What did they do?
Creeped me. They collected them and turned them in for money.
What is the deal with
bones
this marketplace? What is the bones are their money? Also, their
bones are their money. The teeth are their money.
What is the deal with this marketplace for vampire teeth? Who the fuck is buying all these fangs at some market rate? And fucking why?
Yeah, they didn't go into that.
If there is a union that exists of vampire hunters who are all out there conceivably pulling the fangs of vampires they catch and then depositing them in this to folks like Dave Franco, who then give them back.
Okay.
It's like the casino cage.
So
then what the fuck? Who is buying it from them? What value is it to that union?
The government. Because basically the government is secretly keeping vampires under wraps by paying unions to pay under the table hunters to go out, and the only way they can prove that they're killing the vampires is by collecting these teeth.
This job is wild, but like good on this job corps to like unionize.
Well, the
government, you know what I mean? Like an off the books job. It's hard to unionize an off the books job. I'm gonna go and throw that at you right now.
No, that's a good point right there. That makes this movie unrealistic right there. Actually, I'm more likely to believe vampires than that.
Oh, I 100% would believe vampires before I believed a vampire hunters union existed. Absolutely.
I used to DJ in goth clubs. I have seen people with fangs. I believe it. It's true.
They walk among us.
A union? Come on. In 2023?
They also, like, the main woman vampire implied that if you take their fangs out, that's what really kills them. That's what keeps a vampire vampires, the fangs, right? Like, you can't take their fangs. But she didn't seem interested in getting them back, as if you could, like, transfer them to new people, or, like, they were worthless to vampires once they were taken out. So I think
they can't regenerate them.
It was a bounty.
They can't regenerate them, so it's not like you can just, like, stick them back in.
So maybe that's, like, where you learn the most about the species? Is the teeth, since they're so important? They
seem to know a lot, bro. They do a lot.
They knew a lot about vampires.
Who is buying the teeth?
The government. It's a bounty.
No. Peter Stormare.
Is this a conspiracy theory within that world, or did you hear them talk about that? I never heard. I've watched it twice, and I didn't hear them once refer to anything like this.
Not at all.
None of this.
No.
Or are you just like coming with a conspiracy theory? I love it.
Making it up.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm saying that when Jamie Foxx goes to visit Peter Stormare in the back room of that pawn shop,
it's a black market.
There's a screen up of like the current running value of various vampire teeth. I don't understand.
So there's like
what that market
Wall
is and
Street.
who is. It's like an underground. If you're gonna,
he's got like a stock ticker on vampire teeth. Like there's a lot. There are people sitting around updating this information to go out to this contraption. This is a big deal. This is a huge economy, and I'm gonna say it right here and right now. I bet they would make incredible keys on a piano.
Dang.
Seems sharp.
No, because they were kind of they were kind of small. It have to be like a like mini like baby piano because
an inlay.
Like, an
inlay on the key.
There's got to be something very particular about teeth that last
do you guys
forever.
Remember puka shell necklaces?
Because if you can take those teeth and put them in you, yes, of course.
Puka shell necklace.
So I think that basically the industry is vampire teeth necklaces, because they would They would look sick, just like the puka shell ones did.
See, my theory is that we're dealing with some sort of
Sick.
network of well-moneyed collectors. That there is something about people who want these things, which right, the elders' teeth have more value to it.
Yeah.
Junior ones, I think there's this sort of like,
Lineage.
the rich will buy things the same way. Like it's
I
like
think the
you'll see.
shortage here is in vampire hunters.
Huh.
Is
Yeah.
that it's not a shortage of vampire teeth, it's a shortage of people that are good at this, and maybe it's like contained within LA.
So the crux of the question is who's funding it?
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
And
Where
it
is the
seems to
money
be funded
coming
by
from?
an open market.
It's such a
It's
big market.
wild.
I can't get over this. It's such a big market that there's essentially a Wall Street,
Yeah.
a
So the
tracking
implication,
organization.
the implication when Jamie Foxx walks back into the union, apparently after he got kicked out, is that it wasn't always successful. Specifically, what I think he says 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
So not only it's a tech startup too. It's a new booming industry
Yeah.
of
In the valley,
Yeah.
in the valley.
vampire tooth collection, which
If-
like is a parallel. Like that's I said it for a reason. Is that it's in the valley. It's like a startup. It's this whole thing, and then like it's venture capitalists back in this like vampire like collection agency.
You're hearing
and-
it here first, folks. Cabbage's investing advice: vampire teeth, get in early and get in large. You want to spend as much money as possible on this.
It's the new crypto.
Empty the bank accounts. It's like crypto squared.
I think it's worth more than crypto because it exists.
Yeah, he said
Yeah.
20 grand
They
for
were-
he was like
I was gonna
20
say, you were
grand
talking
for
about some
fucking
serious
20.
ass money.
20 grand. I mean, you got to kill
That's-
somebody. It's
For a lot of
crazy,
people,
you
that's
know, like,
life-changing money.
20
Hitman,
grand
a
is-
human is worth more than you could kill a person. You're talking six figures off jump, but like I guess a vampire, they're already dead. So
Yeah, they're already
they
dead.
they do seem dangerous. But but also they seem to want to keep to themselves. No, they did, and I guess the one woman was like, "We're eventually going to take over." Yada yada.
Yeah.
They wanted to be
I
able
think-
to go
No,
outside.
no, but that was the thing. They want like that was the whole like what is it, the like Midnight of the Soul ass thing for Franco's character is that like he's like, oh, I'm a nerd and this isn't helpful or useful. Oh wait, it is useful. I know that these vampires wouldn't hang out with these vampires, and these vampires
Yeah.
hate these vampires, but they're all in the building. Something more powerful is like pulling this all together. I get it. Like this is, especially with that John Wick background, this is an action movie through and through. That's about the action scenes. I don't know. I'm a big lore person too, so it's like none of this.
It
makes-
hints at lore. It gives you
Nothing
just the
convincing.
tiniest little taste of lore, and it's like, would you like more? Nope. Here's a bunch of Cirque du Soleil actors getting shot.
I love that part though. I
Yeah.
love the circulation.
The action sequences are incredible.
Oh, they're so well choreographed, these action scenes. And like now that you were saying the John Wick thing, I was like, yeah, for real. Like these look like
Yeah.
I've never seen John Wick actually, but I've seen the fight scenes all the time, just like everywhere.
Mm,
But
sure.
yeah, it's like the lore means nothing, and so it's just interrupting the fight scene.
Yes,
It's like-
exactly.
The lore isn't constructed in a way where I care. It's like, cool facts about vampires, I guess I won't retain.
Yeah.
All right,
But
are we shooting again?
Yeah. But also it's like we know who vampires are. This is a world where even if they don't believe vampires exist necessarily, like the wider population, everybody knows what vampires are. You don't need to explain vampires to people. They come into a movie understanding what vampires are. So all you have to do is be like, these are vampires. Vampires bad. We need to stop vampires. That is it. You would have cut 25 minutes off of this movie without and done very little. That Dave Franco scene where he says, "Oh, they wouldn't be together," didn't need to be set up 30 minutes prior in a monologue. It's where later on he could show off his knowledge of these things by simply saying, "Well, with the 5 types of vampires, these wouldn't be together in the same place," and it would have the same effect.
Very much. And that was actually another thing,
Yeah.
back to the theory that like it is secret, is when Jamie Foxx explains to the wife, that, hey, like I'm a vampire hunter. It's like, oh, haha, wait, seriously? And then the vampires show the fangs towards the wife, and she's like, oh, so like we live in this world is a world in which people don't believe vampires exist, while simultaneously there's a vampire hunter union, shots busting out all the time. People
are
like,
dumb.
No, well, no, because listen, I'm very meticulous about remembering information. They also have to report to. They have to report to.
They have to report to the police.
They have to who keeps secrets? The police? The police keep secrets? Nah. Anyway, so like we're supposed to believe that that information, the conspiracy of vampires, is kept by police officers, and that information is not disseminated to the public. The police can't tie their shoes without like
quick question.
Find it out. But
no, totally. Which brings me to a quick question. One of my favorite things to do. Quick question: where are all these bodies going? Who's taking these bodies, these vampire bodies, and what are they doing with them?
They just
what's happening to them? Every single one of them, like he gets the teeth, and then because like if they would disintegrate,
no, they don't disintegrate. No, they don't disintegrate because
they come back and find the body of the old lady he kills.
Exactly.
Right
yeah.
And it's fully intact.
There's just rotting corpses all over the San Fernando Valley.
This
rotting headless vampire corpses just all over the.
They were just like, whatever, bro. They were like, whatever.
There's no cleanup in this.
Whatever the San Francisco Green Pointers is, they're writing articles about the terrible smell everywhere. What is this terrible smell? The old abandoned bowling alley smells terrible all of a sudden. Does anybody else notice this? Like people on Nextdoor are talking about it.
I don't understand. In the context of this film, that doesn't make sense. The fact that you have all these crime scenes that just aren't.
Perhaps that's what the police are supposed to do. Maybe they're just coming and cleaning up vampire stuff.
Crime scenes, but like if you think about the context of John Wick, insane things happen in like public in John Wick. Shootouts, motorcycle fights, beheadings, crazy shit happens just on the streets of New York City in these movies.
Right.
So it's like they're just saying, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just focus on having fun and watching like crazy things happen." And the truth is,
suspend your disbelief. Yeah.
And the truth is that by the time Snoop Dogg survives an explosion,
he did.
He comes out of the sewer.
He didn't just survive an explosion. He exploded himself. He was
suicide bomb.
He was he was in the closest possible range and was the only person to survive and unfazed.
Clothes intact.
Everything's fine.
That final shot when they just started focusing on
that's what we need to talk about.
The thing, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, he's gonna come out of the goddamn sewer, and then he does.
No, I have a theory. I have a question. Does he make a small implication that maybe he's a vampire?
He has to be. He got bit. That's the only thing that stays true throughout the movie. When you get bit, you become a motherfucking vampire.
So that's why he survived the explosion.
They drain your ass and you're alive. Yeah.
But the other vampires didn't survive, right? He blew them up, right?
Exploded. Yeah, that's true. So I don't know.
So maybe he's one of those special vampires. I don't know.
No, but that's the thing is that Dave Franco, it's Dave. Dave Franco. When they turned him into a vampire, he was dead for like a series of hours until.
You're right. So maybe just some time goes by. So he exploded himself because he knew he was about to turn into a vampire, and then the time went by and he woke up. But also that leads me to believe again that there are vampires who are vampire hunters. And or like Dave Franco, like they're walk amongst the but they feel morally like they should kill other vampires for the team.
So we're talking about Blade here.
I've never seen Blade. I know that's sacrilege.
Same.
Very much. There would not be an MCU. I don't like the MCU because it's all Justice Defense Department like propaganda, but like there would not be an MCU if there was no Blade. And everybody's like, oh, blah, 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 Iron Man. No, Blade is what, like, other than just Wu-Tang Clan, like, Blade is what makes, like, superhero films modernly cool.
And the director of this movie was a stuntman on the original Blade.
Nice. Dude.
Oh,
So there is a connection again there.
This movie's cosmic, man.
Cosmic. It's a cosmic
It's
gumbo.
cosmic. It's a cosmic gumbo. This movie was written to be a sequel.
Yeah.
Like it was written to produce sequels.
They were going to franchise this out.
This
is
whole
going to be a
thing, like
series.
all of this was explication. And the second one, like a John Wick 2, was just going to be action all the way through.
Yeah.
A bigger, angrier vampire is mad about the death of a large vampire. And that vampire is going to bring crazy vampires.
yeah, El Jefe.
And it's
we're
going to
talking
take
about.
him and a bunch of vampires to beat these vampires. And you know what? I would watch it in a heartbeat.
Every
In a
good
heartbeat.
Of course.
You take the
better than
explication
Fight
out of this
2.
film, and it is awesome. It's so much fun if you don't have to be drugged down into like actual human interactions.
I wish I knew less about vampires after this film.
Yes.
Because there was something specific to these vampires that I'm going to then take into my next movie watch about vampires and be wrong about. So I'm like, oh yeah, well these vampires, if you put them in the sun, their skin will burn a bit, but they're mostly fine. Well, they've got that sunscreen they could use, right? Yeah, that's going to work out.
That was brought up a couple
That
times.
was the other thing. That was the other thing. I watched, what was it, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter after this movie. I watched Abraham Lincoln and Vampire Hunter after this movie because like I had planned to beforehand. And yo, there's like a whole sunscreen subplot. And I was like, like I was like, oh, these movies are connected in that way because like that's not normally a thing in vampire movies. Like it's not like, oh yeah, you gotta
yeah,
get
that
this
was new to me. Yeah.
vampire sunscreen.
They included a photo in the background of Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
So it's that connected. Okay.
It's like I don't know why, but it's in a shot with Big John. And I remember seeing it because I worked in bookstores when that book came out and people lost their minds for it.
See, this shit is like when
remember that
fucking
thing.
they made the zombies fast in zombie movies. It used to be zombies were slow.
Yeah.
Right.
And they trudged because they were diminished. And they were scary because they were slow. But if they
28
got
days
to
later made them fast.
there's suddenly fast zombies in 28 days later. And then like your Walking Dead zombies are fast. And now all the zombies are fast. One of the screenwriters of this movie has done a bunch of these like Zack Snyder zombie movies for Netflix. Army of the Dead, Army of Thieves, and another like 3 in the tank coming. There's this genre stuff where we're just saying, let's take this thing that everybody knows and understands, and let's make it more complicated for some fucking reason. And that is what happened with this movie. They overcomplicated vampire. Why
No,
do you
That
have
is
to?
not what I
really agree.
thought you were setting us up for.
Yeah,
No,
what it
they
is.
really did.
No, it's real.
And like what's interesting is that like, you know, horror is often used as a tool to like reflect what's going on in society and like used as a tool to like, oh, this is what you're whatever, you know, like, you know, this is what we want to comment on and have commentary on either like subconsciously or consciously it shows and how the horror film is filmed, what the plot is about, whatever. And so like that was an interesting thing. And like I am also bringing up Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter again. The difference between these two, like the similarity is they're both propaganda, propaganda specifically. But like the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, the fear seems to be like the I don't know the disillusion of America, and so like you know the vampires stand for like something that's higher than the white supremacist state that is America. And in this movie, it's like it doesn't even get to like an actual like what is the vampire like supposed to represent? Oh, fight scene. And so it's like it doesn't.
It suffers from cramming so much schlock into itself.
It's so thick.
Like
it's so dense
we
with
need
just stuff that
so
doesn't
much
matter.
backstory for people who like, I mean, it means very like we're cramming as much of that as possible into this. That like there
And,
are
like,
long dry spells between attacks.
Yeah.
Oh,
where you get
very.
lots of conversation, and all of it is weighted hard by like pressure. They talk about their pressures a lot,
Yeah.
and it just
Mhm.
doesn't. I don't know. It falls flat to me.
Yeah, and it's like with narratives, like I'm really, really big into narratives and how they come out. There
Mm.
are like, films that are just fun. There are films that are, trying to whatever. There are like plot wise trying to convey something. And then there are films that like do the like little vignette thing and they all come together to mean something in the end also. And it's just like this film doesn't really know what it's trying to be. Like it starts out in a place, like you said, and it's just like let's ultimately what it is just like justifying the fight scenes, but in between justifying the fight scenes, is it a movie about a guy who wants his family to stay together or wants to like, really care about the work that he's doing and, have a new friendship? Or is it about like how unions keep us safe or about how police are bad or about how real estate is bad?
I
And it's
I
like,
think the union took a beating in this one.
oh, like, without a doubt, the union just
It
makes
really
no
took a
sense.
beating. I'm not saying the unions aren't kind of ridiculous sometimes, but like, listen,
It was more like
this illegal teeth union, not a great, not a strong union. That's all I'm saying. That they're kind of a weak link in it all.
yeah, so it's like Fraternal Order of Police being the good guys, and it's like, well, like I love Snoop Dogg, I love Snoop Dogg, but like you can't. What is happening right now? And also the whole like, oh, I am a vampire now, but like I want to fight vampires. It's so convoluted in its messaging that it just literally does not mean anything.
There's like the only thing keeping any of these vampires from flipping back to the side that's obviously going to win in a straight up battle against humans if it came down to like attacking each other. They just sort of explain it away. We're like, these guys are friends. Like
Yeah,
his next
and
door
also
neighbor sort of is like, oh, she fired me or something, or she made me into a vampire and now I'm mad at her.
Yeah, it was so weird.
And
that
like
whole
30
part.
seconds, we're like, let me explain for 30 seconds. Then we got to go fight together, even though you have been murdering my kind and my kind has been attacking you.
and also
They're like,
it also
cool.
doesn't decide
Thumbs
it
up.
also doesn't decide whether or not vampires are animals or like, beings with like complex morality. It just doesn't pick a side because
Yeah,
sometimes
it seems like
vampire like
both exist. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little annoying in that way.
This movie fucking sucks.
But
Yeah, it's not a great movie, but I didn't hate it as much as a
I
lot of
didn't
other
hate it
movies
at
that
all.
suck,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know what would improve it? Truly improve it is a sequel.
Or just 60% more Snoop Dogg.
But that's what we would get in the
sequel.
sequel.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, Jeff, what you're trying to
mean,
do, Jeff, is you're trying to basically, we're taking the same logic from Ghosts of Mars, is you spend a whole movie setting up exposition where all you want to see is Ice Cube and Natasha Henstridge shoot a bunch of space
the
Martians.
second movie is supposed to be that. It's supposed to be that. So let's get this second one rolling. Let's get these people who weren't particularly great at their jobs back together and let's get it rolling again.
I've never even heard of that movie. What movie?
Oh, man.
Earlier this season, we watched a film called Ghosts of Mars, which is a John Carpenter film that was released, incidentally, right after John Carpenter's Vampires, which is a way better vampire movie than this one. And I recommend everybody listening to watch John Carpenter's Vampires. But John Carpenter did a movie called Ghosts of Mars with Ice Cube basically playing like a Snake Plissken type character who lives on Mars. I think was born and raised on Mars in this colony. That ends up being part of the fight against a strange, I don't know what you want to call it.
Possession.
Kind of
There's
possession,
a possessor.
viral possession situation where people are turned into like versions of ancient Martians. It's terrible. It's a terrible film.
It's really bad.
And after that, John Carpenter didn't make another movie for nearly a decade.
The cabbage is cursed, baby. The cabbage is cursed. Even John Carpenter can. We didn't know this going into that film.
No.
It was, I swear, that's where I came up with the theory. I was like, this is ridiculous. Guy's made 1 billion films, and he was like, you guys pick the one.
Yeah.
You picked a 1 out of 30.
We are basically like paleontologists for the end of film careers. Actors, directors, writers. We find bodies just littered, just like we're just
Well, we'll
scavenging.
see.
Look at all these fossils of like, oh,
You're gonna find
sorry,
out.
Mr.
You're gonna
Troy.
find out.
Yeah.
So is
So
the
this is
sequel
what
called
happened.
Night Shift or what?
Yes,
I mean,
of course it is.
There is no sequel in production. I want to say that. So it has
I understand
not done.
that. We're talking about a dream world where I get what
Yes.
I want. I know.
I mean, look,
I know I don't ever get what I want, Gary. I got it.
you don't deserve it. But you know, Jamie Foxx obviously has been dealing with a lot of health issues. There's been a lot of like
True.
tabloid stuff about it. So it's like there's films he already made that are still coming out. Like They Cloned Tyrone just came out on Netflix not long ago. He's
Which
a
I've
guy.
heard
At
is
least,
amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. He was great in that.
there's another film he has coming up, which is from the same director as this movie, and it's called Back in Action, where it is another action comedy with Cameron Diaz. So him and Cameron Diaz have teamed up for that one.
They really workshopped that title.
And he's the second unit director on that one, because he has another movie coming up called The Killer's Game that he's directing. It's gonna be his second.
How did you
directing.
continue through that, Gary? After that
Amazing
comment, how
title.
did you? You're such a professional. I just want to take a moment
Starring
and talk
Dave
about how
Bautista,
professional you are. That was an
Scott
excellent joke.
Adkins, and Ice Cube. So he's moving on to an Ice Cube movie next, which
That smells like a Cabbage's special event.
I feel like we're gonna be back at it.
That was an excellent episode. I don't want to like step over the entire. It was a wonderful episode. I don't care about talking about that movie anymore. I want to talk about the red hot topic on the table here, which is the talking dog season. This is a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea.
I've got our opener for us.
Really, you know exactly what you want the first talking
got
dog
our
movie to be.
openness for us.
Is it Strays, the new movie that's coming out?
No, but that's not a bad idea. No, it's the greatest horrible, like the greatest terrible, worst, wonderful dog talking movie of all time. Look Who's Talking Now.
Oh, wow.
Packed with big names and an absolute disaster.
Danny DeVito was the dog in that one.
Danny DeVito is a dog.
And I think they replaced Roseanne Barr's character in that one. They couldn't get her back for it. And I think maybe Bruce Willis bowed out too, because I guess they would have been too old to be inner monologue babies. But it was Danny DeVito, and I'm just looking at it now, Diane Keaton. They were the dogs.
Dude,
Look Who's Talking Now.
This cast is a killer.
And you still get John Travolta, and you still get Kirstie Alley. You still get Olympia Dukakis.
Of course. In her glory. We should be so lucky as to have more.
Jeff, Charles Barkley is in this movie.
Charles Barkley is in the movie, Gary.
As Charles Barkley.
We gotta do it. This is the next logical step for Cabbages, the talking dog season.
Talking dog
Think
season.
about it, Gary. You put it through your break. Keep it going there.
But that's not what we're doing.
We got to pick a movie for the next whatever.
We have the finale. We got
Cool
the
Cool as Ice.
Cool as Ice.
Cool as Ice. And so now we can focus on the real thing, the talking dog movies.
It's the Cabbages Podcast Network.